What's up guys, my name's Andrew and this is SilverCityReef. So, you want to enter the reefing hobby, but have you considered all of the factors? It takes more than a tank full of water to build a successful reef tank. I've put together a list of 10 often overlooked factors to consider before deciding to start your first reef tank. Number 1. Reefing is an expensive hobby. No matter how you go about it, starting a new reef tank from scratch is not cheap. Don't get me wrong, you can buy cheap equipment to cut back on the upfront cost, but be prepared to have to replace this equipment more often and plan for the equipment to fail. Now, not all cheap equipment is junk, but it is more often than not made from cheaper components and materials in order to keep the price low. To save money when starting my 40 breeder, I bought a few components used and waited for Black Friday sales and made sure I shopped around rather than purchasing cheaper equipment. Even though I saved around $500, I am still into this build over $1,500. Number 2, location and space. When it comes to picking the location for your new aquarium, you need to consider more than just where it would look best. You will need a good amount of space around the aquarium and stand in order to perform maintenance, make repairs, and add equipment like an ATO reservoir as needed. Although space is important, what's more important is having a place to plug in all of the equipment needed for a successful reef. Your tank should be located near an outlet to avoid running extension cords across the room. However, there is one more thing to consider when picking your tank location based on outlet location, which brings us to number 3. Number 3, electrical load. Make a list of all the equipment you need and hope to add in the future. Chances are you will need upwards of 10 available outlets and hundreds of watts. Even though it's most commonly overlooked, it's extremely important that your electrical system can handle the load. Otherwise, you could be looking at starting a fire or burning your house down. Add the equipment wattage, check the circuit breaker amperage rating, and consider what else is connected to the same breaker. If your system can handle the load, you're good to go. If it cannot, consider a new location or call an electrician to make necessary upgrades. I would recommend having your electrician install 2 new GFCI outlets in the desired location and have them wired to a new breaker, or even better, have them each on their own breaker. Number 4, free time. This is pretty self-explanatory, but reefing is one of very few hobbies that actually requires frequent attention. Therefore, a good amount of available free time is necessary. You will need to set aside time every day to check up on your reef, test water parameters, make adjustments, and complete routine maintenance. As time goes on, you won't need to check up on your tank as often, and as long as things are going well, you can test bi-weekly or even monthly and space out routine maintenance if you haven't already minimized it by adding new equipment such as dosing pumps or auto water changers. Number 5, setup time. You can't wake up one day and decide you are going to set up a reef tank. Setup of a saltwater aquarium takes time and lots of it. You will need to be patient when starting in this hobby and accept the fact it's going to take at least 2 to 3 months to get things going. Number 6, maintenance time and expense. As mentioned previously, frequent maintenance is required to be successful in the hobby, and despite the time it takes, it's also a monthly expense you need to consider. Some examples of maintenance-related expenses would be salt and water for water changes, filter socks for filtration, carbon or GFO for reactors, and a variety of fish foods to maintain a healthy diet for livestock. There can be more or less maintenance-related expenses depending on your setup and equipment, but it's important to consider this expense when deciding to enter the hobby. Number 7, research and knowledge. If you want to be successful in this hobby, it's important to research and learn as much as you can prior to starting your build. If you are watching this video, chances are you already have come to this conclusion and are on the right path. You can take notes or save YouTube videos to playlists so you can refer back to them at a later point in time. You will constantly be learning new things as your reef tank progresses, but when starting out, try to focus only on the basics and then research each topic as you get to it. For example, when you are trying to pick your lighting option, research different models and check out videos like the 4 lighting videos in Bulk Reef Supply's 52 Weeks of Reefing playlist. Number 8. Goals. You will need to set goals prior to picking and researching equipment so you don't have to make multiple purchases due to inadequate equipment for your needs. For example, if you want an SPS only tank, you will need higher flow and stronger lighting than if you choose to go with LPS or softies. LPS tanks would obviously be the cheaper option, but the money saved by not needing excess flow and light can be used for other equipment to aid in your success, like an ATO, doser, aquarium controller, or carbon reactor. Number 9. Patience is key. In this hobby, patience is rewarded in the form of a successful reef tank. If you try to rush your way into the hobby, you will quickly learn why it doesn't work. The cycle alone will take around 6 weeks to be built up enough, and if rushed, you risk losing your new livestock. Skipping the quarantine of new fish and coral can result in unwanted pests or illnesses that can wipe out an entire tank or leave you battling them for months. If ick is introduced to your main display, all livestock will need to be removed from the tank if they're still alive and quarantined, and the display will have to sit empty for no less than 70 days. Finally, number 10, quarantine. To prevent the diseases and pests that can be introduced to a tank when adding new livestock, you will need to set up a quarantine tank. Quarantine tanks are not expensive to put together, but do require maintenance, space, and time. In my opinion, it is best to start your quarantine tank first before your display tank so that you can build up the beneficial bacteria and use it to start the cycling process for your dry rock. For more information on how to set up a quarantine tank, check out my video on how I set up mine and subscribe to my channel to be notified when I post my next quarantine video, which is coming soon. Pro tip. Get a notebook you can dedicate to your reef tank build. Use this notebook to write everything down when considering these factors. For example, write down what type of coral you want to keep, what equipment is required to keep those coral, how much the equipment will cost, and what type of maintenance and time it will take to be successful. This will give you a basic starting point and a realistic understanding of what it actually entails to start and keep a thriving reef tank. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this video helped you figure out where to get started or what to consider before getting started. And if you decide that the Saltwater Reef Aquarium is a good choice for you, then make sure you subscribe to my channel, as I will be posting a video on the next stage, which is the planning stages. So be sure to check that out. Once again, thank you for watching. Keep reefing.